Welcome back to Strength Cultures Podcast, number one in the hearts, number one in the charts. This is actually an ad, suckers, but we have actually just launched our training app. We've been talking about this for a little while, but it's officially launched. It launched yesterday on Wednesday, and we're just going to quickly explain exactly what the app is and who it might be for. So Jamie was actually the one who built the app.
Yep, built it out when I broke my ankle. We've got 14 programs. Really proud of what we've put together. There's a bunch of different streams, different goals, things that we think will be catered to everyone, and we're constantly going to update this, build it out. So the programming isn't just the 12-week standalone programming. It's going to go for as long as you decide to stay on the app for.
So we've actually got 4 streams that we're starting with. We have our intro series, which is an introduction to strength, and also an introduction to S&C, which is more of like your hybrid, Vither spec, all the shit that Jamie likes to push. Then we also have powerlifting, both moderate and high frequency, power building for those looking for a little bit more volume, a little bit more hypertrophy. And then finally, we have the S&C stream itself.
One of the best things about the app is when you do join the app, you get to become part of the Discord, which actually you get access to us coaches, and there'll be opportunities for technical reviews in one of the channels there. But you also get to meet the like-minded people that are using the app or our online clients and our gym members. So it's a really great way to join the strength culture community if you do want to jump on board.
And we're just going to start the offer, or start the launch, with an offer for a 50% off your first month. And as a result of it being an app, it actually is quite cheap. So it brings it all the way down to about $25 for your first month of programming. It's also just a great opportunity to just test it out if you want to see what's available for you within the app and within the Discord and see if it's right for you. So the offer is launch 50, all one word, no spaces. 50, obviously the digits 50. So launch 50. It's available until November 9th. And we'd love to see you in there. Please get involved. And if you're interested, if you have any questions, just reach out to one of us and we'll be more than happy to help. But hope to see you in there. Welcome back to Melbourne Strength Cultures Podcast, number one in the hearts, number one in the charts. We're back with a fun episode. We've got Mackenzie Baker down from Indonesia. Whereabouts in Indonesia? Exactly.
Oh, well, firstly, thanks so much for having me on the show. I really appreciate it. So based in Bali, as usual, as you'd expect, but I have spent a lot of time in Sumatra, like some islands off Sumatra. So, yeah, we've got sort of like an apartment there, or we had one, let go of it recently, in Bali. But then, so if you were to say where am I based, I'd say Bali.
Bali. The answer. I've heard there's a new visa passport or something that
Digital nomads?
Yeah, the digital nomads, and you get free tax. Are you out there avoiding tax, are you?
This is actually a topic that I have been discussing a lot with acquaintances, friends.
And the Australian Taxation Office?
Just because I'm paying bullshit tax, and I'm not even in Australia most of the time moving forward. So you can do this thing where you get rid of your tax residency, but you can only spend 45 days in Australia before you have to start paying Australian tax.
Every year?
Yeah, every year it's 45 days.
Yeah.
The digital nomad visa thing, this has been rumored, but I actually spoke with the visa agents, like a month ago or something, and they were like, we haven't received any formal anything about it. So look, it's not that bad. Like I had the 6-month visa, which is why I'm here, kind of timed nicely. That's coming to an end. And that's not too expensive. It's easy to get all that. You can get the 2-year one, which is probably what I'm going to look at next. That's a bit more paperwork and what have you, but I don't really see like huge benefits of the new digital nomad visa in comparison to what's already available.
Yeah, a bit of marketing hype.
Oh, yeah.
ScoMo.
They call it the digital nomad visa and everyone's like, oh.
Losing it.
Everyone's losing it. It's still pretty cool though. What's it like living over there and working, and is it as glamorous as people make it out to be, that like the Bali lifestyle? We were going to do it one year.
Yeah. No, if Strength Culture went under when we first started in 2016, we were like, we'll just ship all the equipment over to Bali and we'll live in Bali and we'll just train little kids.
Charlie wanted to train all the little kids for free.
We'll just get them off and we'll just run like a service over there and get little kids strong. That was our idea. Anyway, we're here now.
Don't steal our idea.
The gym's going well. We're not doing that. So we're not going to Bali.
Yeah, so what's it like living there? Well, I never really went to Bali as like approaching it as a holiday. Even when I went there years ago, I kind of just would go there and do a bit of work and just try and have like a normal lifestyle there.
Yep.
And that's, it's nothing really changes. When I was living in the Gold Coast, when I was living in Torquay, I do the same thing every single day. It's just in a different place. But in Indonesia, the weather's better. It's cheaper, although it can be just as expensive, and we can talk about that if you want. But there's a lot of pros that you get there that you don't have in Australia, and plus for me, the surf is the big deal.
Yeah.
I mean, Bali has good surf, but it's also really crowded. For me, it's the proximity to other parts of Indonesia where you will get the best waves in the world. And I've spent, months at a time in sort of more remote areas. And that's just been like the, not trip of a lifetime, but just, what you surf for sort of thing.
Yeah, because we were chatting a little bit just before relating to like you created a portable home. Well, it was in a van. Yeah. And you built it yourself, I believe? No, you hired someone.
Yeah, so the deal with the van is there's several reasons why I did that. Number one, so COVID hit, and my plan before COVID was always to move overseas, and, because I was working online. But COVID hit, and I also wanted somewhere to store all my shit when I go overseas. And I wanted to be able to come back to Australia and have somewhere to sleep and not have to I've got to quickly pay for an Airbnb and hunt around for a rental and do all that shit and then sign a lease. I wanted flexibility. And because I worked online, I just wanted to be able to drive wherever and go wherever the surf was good and just drive up and down the coast and whatever. So I bought the van. It was a courier van. I bought it in Brisbane. It was flogged. I bought it off a Chinese guy who could hardly speak English. But then I basically took it to a van builder in the Gold Coast and said, this is what I want it to do. These are some drawings I've done. Go and build it. And it was an absolute shit fight. Highly do not recommend it.
What happened?
Oh, just the guy was a goose and I didn't know what he was doing. And
you got the wrong guy for the job.
I went middle road in terms of budget. Like you can get the grey nomads, you go and spend big money. It's all engineered and all that stuff. So I went middle road, and the guy he was just a bit of a kook. Like he kind of just dumb shit. Like I wanted a table to work at, and he set the table height at knee height. I'm like, this is not ergonomic, bro. And other things like the kitchen cabinet was so wide I couldn't get my hand through to open the sliding door from the inside. It's like little things that, as someone who's meant to be a van builder, you'd think, I've
made this mistake before,
but nah. And I was just like, this guy's a kook. But anyway, it does the job. It's great. I drove all down the East Coast, up and down the East Coast twice, surfing everywhere from the Gold Coast, Sunshine Coast all the way down to Bells and Torquay and what have you. And then I did the whole Nullarbor and the South Australia and the southwest of WA and then parked it in bloody Perth and moved to Indonesia.
Yeah, mad.
That's crazy.
There's definitely, watching your stories of just the lifestyle, there's definitely a part of me where like, fuck, that'd be mad to do one day. Just fucking van life, work on the laptop, just get around everywhere.
I want to surf. It's so hard here living in Melbourne. Like I drive down to like Phillip Island or the Peninsula to go to a surf beach, but it's a day thing. You got to drive 90 minutes each way. I would love to finish work and just be able to
punch waves.
Hit the surf for 2 hours. It's a dream one day.
Yeah, the van life thing is, if you don't surf, I'm not sure it would be that good. I'll be honest with all.
Yeah, that's just for. I'm not a surfer.
We love your high achieving. I want to do this, but it's wrong.
Yeah,
right?
I mean,
change angles.
It gets boring. It's like living in a coastal town where it's just retirees. Like, in Melbourne, like being in Melbourne after, where I am in Indonesia, it's vibrant, it's young, it's cool. But coming here to Melbourne and being in Brunswick and walking around, I'm like, if I didn't surf, this is a vibe. This is awesome.
Yeah.
But yeah, so doing the van life thing, it's just like you're living in a coastal town with retirees. It gets old very quickly. But you can hire vans for like a week, 2 weeks or something and have that full experience and then be done with it, and you don't own something that's worth, several $1,000s you don't have to worry about.
Yeah, pack it up and go back to your actual life. Yeah.
You have to build it,
2 weeks.
Have to organize it.
Yeah.
Get out of your system. Where are you living exactly in Bali?
So we had a place in Perenninan, which is just like the Canggu area.
Yep.
Just a bit further out because Canggu's pretty hectic these days. And
Canggu's the new spot, isn't it?
Oh, it's been a new spot for a while.
It's sort of moved from Kuta up to Seminyak and then now...
2018 when we went to Canggu and it was going off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was 4 years ago.
Yeah, we've started looking even further out, like, Sese, Kamaji, whatever. But even Lombok, like after...
Oh, Lombok, yeah.
Yeah, so I've been to Lombok before and I'm going back to Indo on Monday. And then pretty much we've got a place until the 6th of November, and then we're going to probably move to Lombok and give that a whirl, just because it's just so hectic in that area of Bali.
Yeah.
And you could make the argument, I'll just move further out, but it's really interesting. As soon as you go sort of past Canggu, the amenities side of things like gyms and cafes, and that just dips so quickly.
There's no tourism out there.
Well, it's not like it kind of slowly fades, it just drops. So if you live in like Tabernan or those areas a little bit further out, you still have to come into Canggu if you want to, just
go to the gym.
Yeah, well, yes. Actually,
Live your life.
true.
Live your life.
Go for a coffee.
Yeah,
cafe.
yeah, pretty much within reason.
With Bali, are you thinking like 3-4 years, or what's the rough plan of how long you'd like to live there for?
I don't know, man. Like, I really don't plan this shit. Like, to be honest, I'm already pretty over it. That's why we're going, like, looking at moving to Lombok. Living in Bali is, back to the original question. Living in Bali is so much different to going there on a holiday. It's got so many pros, but it also, like, even things like just going for a walk. Like, you can't really go for a walk unless you go to the beach and walk along the beach. Like, that you can't walk on the footpaths. There's not really footpaths. Little things like that which start to get to you.
Yes.
And then,
I've often wondered that when I go to Bali, because we've been a few times, and I look around and go, it's mad because I'm on holiday. You're in holiday mode as well. You're drinking, you're surfing, you're going out.
You're drunk 24/7.
Yeah, I go, would I actually enjoy living here? Because that idea always pops in your head, the expat, go live overseas and stuff. But yeah, the amenities.
Yeah,
Footpath.
I mean, just living there.
The footpaths, man.
Community spaces.
Where are the parks? Where are the parks?
I want a park run. I don't know. Yeah, it's a little bit different when you live there. Don't get me wrong, like it's awesome.
Yeah.
But if you were to compare it to the Gold Coast I would prefer.
Even with the price?
The prices is the factor.
Yeah.
Okay. So Canggu area, it's getting expensive and it's climbing. And these days, it can be when you factor in flights, because you've sometimes got to do visa runs if you have the visa that I have, because I don't have the 2U1 at this point. When you factor all that stuff in and fees for little things, and it can end up being quite a lot more expensive than you would plan for. It's still much cheaper than living in Australia, but yeah, it's not what you think.
Yeah.
Like if you go and live
there's
in
additional
Sumatra,
costs.
Yeah. Like where I was in Sumatra for almost a month. That shit was like, that's when you can save money. That's when it's like you're paying nothing.
Yeah.
But then you don't have the cafes, the lifestyle, people to hang out with. It's just you're in a place with just surfers and local Indos.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's fascinating. I think it's cool, and I think more people will probably start to do it, especially now with the. That's probably why it's becoming more expensive. But like everyone will learn to work from home, and all the companies learn to work from home. I think the next step is people start moving away from the cities, which I think we're seeing. And
we're seeing it now already in Melbourne.
Apartment, those buildings aren't being filled up, and you got fucking bosses saying, "Come back to work," but everyone's like, "Fuck you, I can just work at home." And then I think it's just people will start moving around and traveling more and living overseas. And
I don't think once you gave that freedom to people for 2 years, I don't think
it's not coming back.
It's like you can't take it back.
Yeah,
it's such a much better lifestyle.
So
work from home.
You're back in Melbourne for a presentation.
Yeah.
International speaker, we'll call you.
Oh,
welcome.
I'll take
FIFO.
it. Yeah,
FIFO.
Thanks for giving my ego a nice hit for the day. That'll sort me out until Monday, and then someone else will have to top it up.
Yeah, that's all right.
FIFO.
So you're speaking at the is it the UEBC? It's still the UEBC.
Yeah, the UEBC.
Yeah.
JPS.
Yeah. What's your presumption on?
Client-centered nutrition coaching.
Client-centered nutrition coaching. If I was to view, obviously I consume a lot of your social media. I think you're actually on our whiteboard still from our previous internships. There's a people to follow, nutrition.
You made the probably 5 lists.
You made the nutrition list.
My
so
ego
well done.
Is
yeah.
Sky high.
Yeah, Mac Baker. Get on Mac Baker and because I think the nutrition, for anyone that doesn't know who follows us and the potty, your nutrition content is very pragmatic, very practical, very much this is something you can apply, but it's very I would put in, it's like general nutrition information. It's just sort of like building it around your life and your lifestyle. Is that sort of the points that you're talking about in your presentation?
I do touch on that. I would say that the presentation more covers how to be a coach that ensures you're actually enhancing someone's life. When you think about the root role of a health coach, it's to make someone's life better. Okay. Now, if you adopt a coach-centered approach that is prescriptive, and it doesn't consider the client's total health, their values, and what is really important to them, and also the impacts of certain dietary interventions, goals, and approaches, then you might have improved their physique or what have you, but is their life actually any better? Yeah. You can leave someone worse off because there are various risks and side effects that come with changing your diet and or your body. So I guess my presentation sort of talks to that a little bit, but the crux of all of this, and the way I like to speak about nutrition these days, and this is different to what it was in previous times, and the thing that has landed it where it is today is going through some shit myself, is making sure that nutrition is used as a tool to help you live your version of your best life. Because it is like a free life-enhancing gift if you know how to use it. So yeah, just really understanding that it's not always about exclusively getting super jacked and super lean and tracking macros and, getting sucked into these nutrition goals that you kind of fall into, but haven't really stopped to think like, does this actually really align? Is this really helping me live the life that I really want to live?
If you've been pushing your training hard, you probably need some supplements. But the good thing is your boys have got you covered because we've partnered up with Elite Supps Australia, which is a fantastic online store for supplements. And they have the best part, I think, is they have a wide range of supplements. Pretty much everything, every brand that you've probably seen on social media is on there. And you can use Culture 10 for a 10% discount store-wide. We'd also love to see what you get because there's plenty of stuff. I know you boys have been trying
slamming the non-stim.
The non-stims.
Emerald Labs non-stim has been our choice. It actually tastes good.
Yeah.
And I'm not overly stimulated.
How are the sick pumps?
They're sick.
The pumps were juicy.
Yeah.
I'm all about non-stim. I used to think, like, back when I first got in non-stim, why would you take? Now I'm like, I get it. Because I've cut down my caffeine and you get a sick pump, feel mad. Blood circulation.
And a lot of you train at 5 p.m., you're slamming pre-workouts, you're affecting your sleep. Grab the non-stim, get the pumps without the fucking impact on your sleep.
I've also ordered some of the Ghost protein.
Apparently it's really
I've only
tasty.
heard great things about some.
Things. The Ghost pre-workout, I had a sip of it.
Tasty.
It is very tasty.
That was the Warheads one. Yeah, so
very tasty.
Culture 10, if you're interested in any of the supplements on Elite Supplements Australia, Elite Supps, the link is in our Instagram bio and it will be somewhere in the description of this potty.
Is it helping me? I stopped surfing for 5 years, and a large part of that was getting into the personal trainer thing, and everyone at my work was taking the gym seriously and it's a bit competitive. And then it's like, oh, okay, well, I better, start turning it up a notch as well. And I cared so much about that stuff that I stopped surfing. And then one day I realized, fuck, I've just made my life shitter. Pretty much. So,
I feel like you're going through.
I think I've went through it as well. But you go first.
I was going to say, I think this is not to that realization that you've maybe made your life shitter, but only pursuing powerlifting, you feel like you've lost some of those athletic qualities that you used to have.
Yeah,
and like the ability to run. Like it's shit we've been talking about.
I had in my head for so long. Everyone said you're too heavy, you're too powerlifter, you don't run, you can't run. And post nationals, I want to start running again. And it was Dan, I've said this on the podcast before, the physio, he was like, you can fucking run. He goes, look at like the rugby players, they're 120 kilos and they run. Like you can work up to and build up to it. But not that I regret it, because at the time, I've loved powerlifting, but I'm starting to get that. I've done it for 5 years now, competing competitively powerlifting. And it's just, I'm like, you know what? I could prioritize a few other things in my life that could actually then probably enhance powerlifting, because I'm, even like playing golf with going out and having a hit of golf, or
it was the same thing
going
with me,
for a
like,
run.
Played basketball from the age of like 6 to 19, age out of the juniors, never got back into it. Focused more on the gym. Probably, in years gone past, thought that, this is going to detract from my ability to fucking become a better powerlifter. But then now, 3 months, been back into it, and I fucking love it. And I'm just like, fuck, what have I been doing, man, this whole time? Like this thing was a part of my whole life, I just let it go, and I'm like, fuck, thank God it's back. But like, why did I ever fucking stop? Like, it's just so much fun, like, for sure.
I think a key difference between what you guys are describing is that you guys love powerlifting.
Yeah.
Whereas when I got more serious in the gym and took that seriously, I enjoyed it. I like being healthy and moving my body, but I never loved the idea of training like with that sort of.
What sort of training were you doing?
It was more just like
body comp.
Squats,
I wouldn't say it
bench.
was bodybuilding stuff, but it was just
Body
like
comp.
Body composition.
body composition
Getting
stuff.
jacked.
So
Getting
I
jacked
never-
and juicy.
Yeah,
Did you like the results, but you didn't like the training, or
I don't know, man. I think I just got sucked into it and didn't really have an opportunity to think. And then all of a sudden, it actually detracted all these other areas of life. And I was all of a sudden living a day-to-day existence that didn't really have anything that I enjoyed. Like, I liked going to the gym and stuff, but, you know, it was get up, go to work.
Nothing
like,
lit your fire.
There was nothing that, like, really got me going, you know? And no regrets, because it part of that kind of led me to where I am now in terms of my understanding and my thoughts around nutrition and what have you. But yeah, you know, a part of me does think like, shit, man, you lost like a good chunk of your early 20s, like from sort of the late teens to that whatever it is. I kind of feel like I didn't really live that. I just kind of did something for other people, or because I was trying to impress other people or fit a mold, rather than living my life on my own terms. So it took a trip to Indo pre-COVID, or just a little bit before pre-COVID, where I was in Lombok and I saw these guys surfing, and I was like, what the fuck? Like, why am I just doing this gym thing? I'm not even a gym person. Like, all through high school, everyone was like, rugby, rowing. I went to one of those GPS schools, and they're like, yeah, war cries. And I was like, lame, I just want to go surfing. So I was in like the G's basketball, so I could go surfing. Yeah. And all of a sudden after school, I found myself, you know, not aligning with that person. I was all of a sudden a different person. And I was like, this is ridiculous. It was literally a moment. I remember seeing these guys riding their scooters with their surfboards at the place we were staying in Lombok. And I was like, fuck am I doing? So then I came back and I was like, my brother had one of my old boards, and I was like, I'm getting back into surfing. And my first surf didn't even have a leg rope, hadn't surfed for 5 years. I was like, I'm going surfing. Didn't care. And then from there, it just went. And all of a sudden I felt like I was actually living my life on my own terms. And now nutrition is not about, I've got to eat to try and like maximize muscle protein synthesis and
Spike that shit.
I've got to be in a surplus, bro, and all this stuff. It's just, is it going to make me feel good? Is it going to make me work well with clients? Is it going to help me enjoy surfing? So there's elements of sports nutrition in there, and, you know, what have you. But yeah, sorry to ramble.
No, I love the ramble.
like
There's two things that I think, two pieces of content of yours that have stuck in my head. And not that I use it from a coaching perspective, but I use it for myself. And especially when I'm discussing like, should we do this and that with my partner? The two things is like the idea that your health is there's so many facets to health, and especially like being in health and fitness and S&C and what we do in a gym, it's purely focused on this physical health thing where it's body compositional shifts, or it's making sure we hit nutrients and training.
I'll jump in. It's not even physical health though. It's based around performance, because when people are training to get stronger, get bigger, health isn't necessarily like, if you think about physical health, it's a bit more broad. We're focusing purely on performance. Health would consider a lot more things than just what's your fucking squat.
And you have all these, but there's all these other important pillars of health to consider, like social health and financial health and all of this sort of, there's other ones that you speak about. But having that in my head as like a framework to be like, when you're making decisions, it's like, actually, you know what, fuck it. I'm going to go out and let myself go tonight with my friends or whatever, because of the social health aspect. It's important for me to make sure I actually am enjoying this process that I'm going through. That's the first one. And then the second one is when you select a food as an indulgence, just enjoy the indulgence. Like, and I like the word of it.
Get me started, bro.
And I like the word of it as an indulgence, because that's exactly what it is.
I've 100% hijacked that, and if anyone's ever heard me talk about that, it's from Mackenzie Baker. I've stolen it straight from you.
There you go.
But it's
You're leaving here big.
But
we've got double
it
doors.
is I think it is a really good way of framing it, and obviously put a lot of content out about it. But it's almost every client I've probably had a chat about that, and just about the mindset around having quote unquote bad foods and all that type of stuff. I think that's very useful content that you've put out for sure.
Wow, so many things there. So speaking on the total health thing, you know, you guys with your basketball, your running, when you were full focused on powerlifting, your performance might have been optimal, but what was your total health? Because maybe your emotional health wasn't as good as it could be because you weren't doing an extra thing that brought you relaxation, stress relief that you generally enjoyed. And that was certainly the case with me. Like, I was going to the gym and eating like really healthy. And at that time I was a little bit like still in that Poliquin thing, because that's what the gym where I started working out as a receptionist while I was at uni kind of was.
It was
into.
a Poliquin gym, was
it?
it?
Was heavy.
What was it?
Gym.
What gym? If you don't mind.
They won't mind because they're real good guys.
Yeah.
It's Oxford Performance Centre in in Darling House
Never
in
heard
Sydney.
of it. Yeah.
Sorry, guys.
But when they started, it was pretty heavy Poliquin stuff. So I was still like, scared of like quote unquote unclean foods to a degree and stuff.
Yeah.
So my physical health would have been really, really like, so good, but my emotional health was shit. And I had no social life. So my total health was therefore pretty shit.
Yeah.
So it's sort of this like reminding yourself that, what are we really trying to achieve here? Improvements in overall total health, well-being, happiness, life enjoyment. Okay, if I cut out indulgences, all of a sudden social occasions with partner, friends, going to see the footy with the boys, dinner and drinks with the girls, whatever you're into, that's out the window. So you might be promoting physical health, but what cost is that coming at to other facets of your total health? And the thing is, indulgences, social occasions, drinking, all of these things, if we actually change our definition of a health-seeking diet should promote total health and not have negative impacts on any facet of health. When we actually think about it, indulgences, drinking, all that stuff, that is a part of a health-seeking diet. You just got to think, what is your definition of a health-seeking diet? And if you're going to freaking indulge, don't be doing these bloody, Insta recipe, macro Mike mousse, protein mousse on a freaking rice
with egg
cake
whites and fucking
Eat a mousse.
Make everything
Have a real
protein.
mousse.
Yeah.
Have
you
a
want a
Magnum.
Mars bar, have the fucking Mars bar, but be like, okay, well, it's an indulgence, therefore the portion size should be approached accordingly.
Yeah. Even just like,
No, I was just saying, I'm really glad you've said that, because sometimes I question myself as a coach because I'm so far down that route of when clients come to me all worried, I went out for dinner, I didn't track, I didn't do this. And I'm like, good, enjoy it. I want you to eat dinner out and I want you to enjoy that shit.
Yeah.
So then Monday rolls around, you can be a bit stricter with your nutrition. But on Saturday, you enjoyed yourself. Because I sometimes think, because the health and fitness scene is so far the other way, that I'm like, am I too relaxed? Am I putting my clients at detriment of their physical goals? But I'm probably making their lives a whole bunch better because they're loving and going, you know what, had a good weekend, enjoyed some food, had a couple of wines or whatever. And
you're not giving them unhealthy ideas or relationships with food.
Can't eat that.
Along
It's
the
dirty.
way. Yeah.
See, what you're doing there, that's classic client-centered coaching. Because the fitness industry is like, you've got to be this.
Yeah.
But then you're not considering what the fitness, you don't give a fuck what fitness WBFF or whatever people say on Instagram. You're doing what does your client, what's going to actually
The everyday person.
be better for your client?
Yeah.
Is it good for your client to be upset about the fact that they went and had some indulgences with their friends on the weekend? It's normal to feel guilty about food decisions that might not be that like long-term value aligned. Like, even though we have values and we have long-term goals, often we make decisions that misalign with that. So naturally guilt is going to be present, but it's good that you're like, well, this is what is going to help my client live a better life. And they don't need to view this as bad. And rather I should try and focus on the positives and make them look at it a little bit differently and make them realize how this indulgence actually has served their life positively.
100%. Mike Israel was the one that got me on that, the pleasurable food. He calls them pleasurable foods. The good and bad. It's funny, my partner works in a childcare centre and they start educating the kids on sometimes foods and always foods from like the get-go. So like the little kids are learning these ideas.
Instead of being called junk foods.
Yeah, it's like
sometimes.
I like that. It's
sometimes
like abundant
foods
versus sparingly.
It's like your lollies and chocolates, there's sometimes foods, and then these are, fruit and vegetable, whatever, always foods. But then we've got all of us in the fitness industry that just like
Just jumping in to let you know, we are available for online coaching. If you're looking to get more out of your training, we'd love to get you on board. DM any of the coaches on Instagram or head to the first link in our bio. Cheers.
And the other thing with nutrition, I like this, we've discussed this.
No, let's go hard.
Went on a rant, is...
Let's start calling people out.
No, I call people out, but because everyone eats, everyone has an opinion.
Yeah.
So you're getting all these, it's Dunning-Kruger, you'll get like...
Bro.
All right. How often does this happen to you?
You're just looking off in the abyss, bro.
How often does this happen to you? You're the nutrition guy. I know how it used to happen to us. We'd go out to a party and people are like, you must eat really healthy, yeah? And I'm like, no, man. I slam burgers, I drink beers, and I do all that shit, and I love it.
So, like going to a party, that's one thing. Being in a remote part of Indonesia where there's just a group of surfers and you're having dinner and everything together, and because they're surfers, they're into like a lot of alternative
Health
stuff, and no one trusts the government. And like
butter in the coffee.
Yeah, there's a little bit of that going on, but just that's when you're like
The hippie.
Are they sunning their nuts?
I'm sure there are a couple out there. But yeah, the surfing space and nutrition, that's another kettle of fish. That's a really
I've heard it's a bit of a shambles in there.
It's a shambles. The whole thing, like I've gotten insider perspective on certain things happening at like Surfing Australia and stuff, and you hear it sounds like a complete shambles from what I've heard.
Can we get some scoops?
Yeah.
You got any scoops to release here on the podcast?
Oh no, I don't know.
Keep it?
Yeah.
We love a beep. If you want to say whatever, we're happy.
We'll just beep it out.
We'll just beep it out.
I just know stories. I don't know details, so I couldn't be like,
who's the premier surfer? Who's the guy that won silver or bronze at the Olympics? What was his name?
Owen Wright.
Owen Wright, yeah. Call out Owen Wright for his his
nutrition practices.
He's not even on the world tour anymore.
Was one of the surfers? No, that was Peter Siddle. He only used to eat bananas. He ate like 50 bananas a day. Yeah, it was a cricketer. That was one that I remember hearing. And then everyone started eating bananas because Peter Siddle liked bananas.
Well, I used to eat McDonald's after every footy game because Chris Judd ate McDonald's after.
Yeah, fucking
so it was like influenced by the people above us. Yeah. I don't know where the fuck we were going with
people
this.
Above you.
People above us.
They're not above you, man.
Where were we? I think we were talking. You were just.
I went on the everyone has an opinion because everyone and we copied it. We got out and it's like, oh, you must eat really healthy, and it's just like it frustrates me that is the stigma that comes with it. And it's like, no, we're actually not at all. And like,
or like you'll just because you don't want to like just say no to a certain indulgence, you'll say no to an ice cream. Like, oh yeah, I fucking health freak over here. It's like, no, I just don't fucking want it. Like, trust me, I slammed ice cream last night. Don't worry. It's just in this particular instance, I don't want it. But you're like, oh yeah, you're bloody gym junkie. Like,
you're gym junkie.
That's pretty funny.
Just in this conversation there's another piece of content that yours and Luke Tulloch's, I think the two best sort of.
I think you're kind of the Luke Tulloch of the nutrition space in that you make complicated ideas very simple, very digestible for anyone to kind of consume.
The post you made, even just today with your story, how you were like, oh, what I'm having for breakfast, I've got a busy day, I'm doing all this stuff. And it was just like, what was that? It's like ham. Was it ham?
Okay, I'll tell you what I had for breakfast today, and I'll tell you the rationale. I'll give you the full description if you want.
Yeah.
All right, so didn't have much time this morning because I'm in Indo time zones, so I'm sleeping in a little bit, and I had to do all this work, and I wanted to get a coffee and what have you. So I didn't have much time for breakfast. So I was thinking, I'm in an Airbnb. I didn't want to have just like yogurt and fruit, so I was like, I want something that's like not cold. So I'll go and I'll get just a sandwich from the cafe. Walked around Brunswick. I was like, hipster places.
They wouldn't sell bread out there, sure.
Yeah. So, and I was like, I don't have time. I was like, oh, fuck it, I'll just go to Woolies. So I went to Woolies, I wanted something that had protein plants. That's the foundation.
That was the point I was going to make.
The crux of a health-seeking meal, all right? Protein plants first and foremost. And I was like, I wouldn't mind some whole grain fiber in the mix there as well. So I already had some wholemeal bread at the Airbnb because I bought them from lunch yesterday, so I had half that pack left. I was like, well, I'm just going to buy some ham, and then I need to get my plants. I don't really want to just put raw salad in that. I don't really feel like it, and I would need sauce in that instance. Otherwise, it would just be horrible. So it's like, I'm just going to go get some fruit. I'll have some fruit with it. So I got a mandarin and some blueberries. And that was my breakfast.
Yeah, well, it's the idea of like the building block being plants and protein. This is maybe Didier's just picked up all.
Oh man,
I've been hammering.
No, I won't shy away from it. I've stolen all your content, man. Don't worry.
Well, I didn't even realize that was your content. Buzz was saying it. I've been telling all my clients protein and plants.
Look, granted, after giving you a lot of compliments, I'm going to go the opposite way. I think you're the only one who pushes protein and plants, but you definitely push it a lot. But I don't. Yeah. Look, I'm sorry. I don't think you invented that as a phrase.
Yeah. Who gave it the PP? What's that called? A double entendre or something? Or
I
is that
don't
when
think
you
it's a
go
double
to the-
entendre. I think it's alliteration.
Alliteration. I don't know. Yeah, the PP. The plants and protein as a foundation for building it. Like, what did you say? What was the tag you gave it?
Protein and plants first and foremost.
First and
so
foremost.
when you're building a meal, you start off with those two components first.
Yeah, I think that is a fantastic framework, and even like plate construction and all of that sort of stuff ties into like the precision nutrition, like hands and
Good course.
yeah, precision nutrition. Yeah, yeah.
Like
You recommend that one? We recommend. That's probably the one that we recommend the most from a.
Didier's doing it.
I reckon if you just want to learn some shit about nutrition, it's pretty practical. It's a good course. It's well laid out.
I like the practicality. You know, like just there's a good amount of resources available. Like there's some like the chapters actually have some shit to kind of digest. They've got examples. They've got case studies. It's cool.
Yeah, I reckon it's great.
Precision nutrition. Yeah. I think from a practical standpoint, yeah, without a doubt, it's probably. I think the guy that made it is a Cressy intern. One of the guys,
Yes.
Brian St. Pierre. Is he still doing it?
Cressy, I think he's in there.
Yeah,
I think Barati founded it, but Brian St. Pierre is like one of the big dogs.
When I was doing the Cressy internship, he came in and gave a 2-day seminar of their updated material for precision nutrition.
They've been doing it since like 2005.
Yeah, we got like a little
Cool.
preemptive look in behind closed doors from Brian St. Pierre. So
Love that.
that's really cool. So back to your presentation with the JPS. So client centered strategies. What other client centered strategies outside of is macronutrients and macros anywhere within your? How do you
Like tracking macros?
Yeah, like tracking macros. So is that part of like when do you pull that bow out? Like when are you
Like when are you like,
drawing?
bam?
Yeah, when are you
Pull that one out.
Yeah.
It's all about right tool for the job. Okay. So a client-centered coach is going to take the time to get to know their client. They're going to take the time to listen to them, try and understand what their lifestyle is like, what goes on in their day, what their priorities are. And then they're going to try and work collaboratively with them to try and identify, the right tool for the job. And there are many instances where tracking is going to be the right tool for the job. It's just a matter of it. Like, I think some people think I'm against tracking. I'm really not. I just counter the whole idea that the default is tracking.
Yes.
Because I feel like with 99% of online coaches or fitness people who do nutrition, the default approach is right. All right, you want to do nutrition. All right, I'm going to do your macros. Here you go. Here's the check-in thing, MyFitnessPal. Like, that's how it always is. It's like, why is it always tracking? Like, tracking has a lot of pros. It's quite easy to coach as well. It's kind of like, here's the numbers. You can personalize them. But that's not personalized coaching.
Personalized 1.8 times body weight protein, fat about 0.7, fill the rest of carbs.
Yeah. It's, and that's the thing. Like, when do I
pull that bow? Yeah.
So if someone wants to do tracking, that's one big one, because you've got to respect people's autonomy. The thing is, if I had a client come to me who said, I want to track all my macros to the nearest gram, and I said, Sarah, you got 4 kids and you want to lose 3 kilos, like you don't need to do this. There's no point in me saying that, because she's just going to go to Macro Coach Steve down the road at Anytime Fitness, and he's going to do it anyway. You got to respect what people want to do, because they're going to do it anyway. And the best thing you can do is support them in that way safely. And then, eventually through, asking questions and discussions, they'll probably realize what you were thinking in the start anyway. To answer your question, it was when someone wants to track their macros, the second reason would be an acute high-level goal that requires precision, like, a powerlifter or a weightlifter needs to lose X weight in Y weeks, and you want to just be
bit more time constraint.
More time constraint. More often than not, though, I'll just tell clients, if they are going to track a nutrition metric, to just track total calories and nothing else. Because most of the clients,
Just total calories.
Wow. The reason for this is because most of the clients who, I've worked with for at least even like a week or two are familiar with the protein and plants thing. And, they've got a bit of a toolkit going of meals and snacks. And just by naturally following their usual eating approach, their macros are going to end up being roughly where they need to be anyway. It's not going to make much of a difference. So why would I then go and tell them, oh, you've got to track protein, carbs, and fats as well? It's not going to help. they're already going to be within an ideal range anyway. It's not worth their time and mental cost. So you can just track total calories, and instead of having a fixed target, you've got a range.
Yeah.
So it's really just trying to reduce rigidity as much as possible, because macro tracking has consistently been associated with disordered eating and eating disorders. So whilst they're association-based, and there are some RCTs that kind of refute that, which I can get into why they're limited. Anyway, the point being is we want to try and reduce rigidity as much as possible. And when you are going straight to macro coaching or macro tracking, you're coming from a place of having to pull rigidity out, not add it in. So any way you can try and pull rigidity out that's not needed, why would you not do that?
Yeah, absolutely.
A couple of things that I can further discussion points from there. I think, as you said, you're not against macro tracking. You're just pro the other approach, the non-tracking. The tool for the job. Yeah, correct. Because I think, and we probably all saw this as, if it fits your macros and macro tracking coming into the field of fitness and all that stuff. Like, and I'm sure we all went through this period of like, man, we've got the answer. Yeah. You just need to track your macros, easy. Man. Like, obesity gone. Like, they just need to track their macros. It's really that simple. And obviously, we now know it's not that simple. So and as you and still to this day, there's probably a lot of coaches who are still like, nah, macros, which is fine. But like, I think they need to obviously take the more tool for the job approach. And the other thing I was going to say there was people, I think going for the calories only approach works when you have the foundation of plants and protein. Because if you don't have the foundation of plants and protein, you just give someone calories, fat might be a little bit too high, protein might be a little bit too low. But it's because you've gone through first starting with plants and protein, everything else gets taken care of by default. Whereas if you just eat with no kind of structure of what you're eating, then that's when your numbers are a bit all over the shop, and you're probably under eating protein, overeating fat, blah, 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 all that type of stuff.
Yeah, one point to add to that is, so tracking your macros, this is a short or acute strategy. It's not a forever thing. It has a lot of utility, and another reason why I would use it is if someone's ready to do an intensive learning phase of nutrition. That's just to add to that point. So it's an acute tool. It's not a forever thing. You can't track your macros forever. You definitely shouldn't. And there are many instances in life where it's completely not appropriate to track your macros. Like, you're going to go to Christmas Day lunch and your grandma served you her Christmas pudding, and you're going to ask her what the macros are.
How many eggs are in that?
If all you know is tracking your macros, when you are presented with a situation where you can't track, answer. Or it's time to move away from tracking, what are you going to do? So by helping someone understand the meal building model of protein and plants, this is a forever strategy. So, this is why I'm saying let's emphasize these things, and then we can add things like tracking in on an as-needed basis for acute periods of time.
I think, the young personal trainer who Tupperware's 95% of their meals, for them, it's like, oh, yeah, man, it's easy. You just track your macros. But then you've got like, exactly. But then you've got, for whatever reason, someone eats more socially. Someone's eating the same food as their family. Like, it's just not feasible for so many people. But this is where we need to obviously learn the other approach. We can't just be like, no, it has to be macros,
Every single cut I've ever done, I've never, ever tracked every single day of the cut. Ever. Just for a fun fact out there. Just because people get hyperfixated.
Same here. They
get hyperfixated. They've got to track. They get hyperfixated. You've got to track every single day. There's 1 or 2 days a week, but I'll put in those strategies, the protein plants. I might save calories for later in the day, or whatever it is, get my steps up, all that shit. Because I just don't want to track every single day. I haven't tracked now for 6 months, the longest. I tracked for 5 years and I've stopped for the last 6 months.
This is really good because what you've done here is by having those non-tracked days, you're keeping up the skill of being able to eat in control and feel in control and be confident in your abilities without needing tracking to do the job for you. Because if you just track endlessly, like any skill in life, if you don't practice it, you slowly lose it. And all of a sudden you're in a situation where all you know is tracking. It's just like, I hear people say things on social media like, if I didn't track my macros, I would just eat way too much. And it's easy for me. It's only 2 minutes out of my day. It's like, I'm just going to say it, this is kind of disordered, bro.
I think we were all thinking it.
Kind of like, and this is the thing, by having those opportunities, like, people fear social occasions and, I'm going away for the weekend and I don't think I'm going to be able to track. People have this innate fear of that, but actually it's a positive opportunity to practice those skills that are going to help you be able to maintain a calorie conscious diet after it's time to let go of macro tracking, or when you're just like, no, I don't want to track, or you're just going to have what you want to achieve is the ability to just switch between the two so effortlessly.
Yeah, when the time comes to get a bit
Knuckle
more
down a
narrow,
bit more,
you can pull that and then pull that bow. But when it's time to just go get whole grain sandwich and some ham and some blueberries, you can pull that bow too.
Mate, there's nothing wrong with a meal that just ticks the boxes, and that's another thing. Like people want to do, my Biscoff baked protein oats fucking made with egg whites. Like cool. But
that sounds shit
sometimes it does sound terrible. But sometimes you just want something that just ticks the boxes, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing bad about that.
Yeah. Where did your sort of passion and love for just nutrition come from? Like what sparked that? You said that you started. I'm assuming. You said reception at the gym, but
I was a receptionist.
Yeah. Were you ever a personal trainer first, or was it you just went down nutrition route?
I was a personal trainer after the receptionist.
Yeah.
So I was a receptionist at this gym while I was doing my undergrad. And
undergrad of?
I actually did industrial design as my undergrad. So that's where like these different.
Did you design the door and the the cabinet in your van, or was that you?
Oh yeah,
I
built the layout. Like I kind of gave him the plans and I said
he didn't follow it,
but he kind of still fucked it up. And I wanted his input.
Fuck that guy.
I wanted his input because like he's the van builder. I don't have that experience. But anyway, he didn't provide that, so that was fucking atrocious. But anyway, so I feel like my design background has kind of it's been implemented into a lot of things like systems with coaching, checkbox type approaches like the pre-exercise checklist sort of thing. It's very methodical and like stage like step by step. Anyway, so interest in nutrition was like being at that gym, started to get interested in nutrition, learn a lot, went down some really dark paths with nutrition, like
especially
really
in Apolloquin inspired. Were you doing like sub-scap fat measurements?
I paid the money, did it with Cato. He taught me bias.
Cato. What's Cato up to?
I don't know what he's doing.
Performance?
Yeah, I think he's doing like Alico.
I think it was like the Alico rep, but I don't think he is anymore.
He's a good guy.
Yeah.
I'm not.
But no, back to,
This is nothing about. This is just about the Poliquin.
The Poliquin. Anyone that doesn't know, Poliquin is self-proclaimed greatest strength and conditioning coach of all time, but had some very different
views,
theories, which somehow some of them were backed by some science from somewhere. But one of them, the one that always sticks in my head, is depending on where you store body fat, will tell you sort of what you're deficient in and all of that sort of stuff, what your hormone levels are at. So
you can just go get a blood test from an actual endocrinologist to identify what's going on there. But yeah, it's all smoke and mirrors. And but the thing about the whole Poliquin or that sort of approach to thinking is there's a lot of food rules. Like, your carbs are bad at this time, gluten's terrible, you got to, this is good, this is bad. It's all food rules, and if you have this, you're going to do X, Y, Z. It's all fear-mongering. So when you have food rules, you have dichotomous thinking. When you have dichotomous thinking, you are basically a risk factor for eating disorders. And I heavily went down that path and had a really fucked relationship with food. And it was a dark place where it made me question my whole existence, like a real depressive phase of my life. And it was kind of, I did start getting to the macro tracking thing after that because I started to question stuff, started to think for myself. And then I discovered the macro tracking thing, got into that. Yeah. It was the answer. I was a bit of a macro coach, Steve, in my mindset at that point. It's the answer, it's all about calories and whatnot.
I was thinking it's probably at the time for you it was because it took you away from
it saved
food rules.
It was the necessary step. Yeah.
It saved me, essentially. But then there was side effects from that. Like I said no to all-inclusive Hawaii holidays from my ex-girlfriend's family because I was like, how am I going to track my macros?
How am I going to track my oysters? Jesus.
Yeah, like all these sort of things. And like I realized that it was just, I couldn't eat unless I had my app with me. And I really didn't like that. Because you know what? Deep down, I never wanted to be a gym person. I never liked the fact that I was this person going to the gym 6 days a week who was taking that stuff seriously. He never really identified. And I didn't like the fact that I needed an app to be able to eat. All these things didn't sit well with me. So it actually took a few leaps of faith to move away from that.
How long were you in that phase for? So
probably 2 years.
2 years, yeah.
Yep. It took some leaps of faith, like committing to a trip to LA with a friend and just making a conscious decision from today, I'm just not going to track at this trip, and I'm going to test myself. And
did you have had you set pretty large goals for yourself, like physically in that, or like why were you consumed in like, I have to be so accurate with this thing? Like, why were you
all or nothing mindset?
Yeah.
So, I think that's a trait of mine that I've. Oh fuck! This is a big tangent, and this is cool though.
We
This
like
is cool.
tangents.
So, the all or nothing mindset is a place that I come from. Like in my whole, growing up, whether it be in certain sports or whatever, I was always all or nothing, and that's also part of the reason why I stopped surfing.
Me too, bro.
Yeah, because I was like, if I'm not gonna be a pro or whatever, what's the point?
Yeah.
And once I get sucked into something, I'm all in. And only the last sort of couple of years, I've been able to actually develop this ability to put things into perspective. When things start to take over, it starts to make things unbalanced, and you won't enjoy life as much, or there'll be, like if I'm. Yeah, you just don't get so much out of life. A middle road approach, it sounds boring, but it kind of equals fun life. And, professional athletes and what have you, if you want to achieve that high level of anything, shit's going to be unbalanced. But it's within the context of your values. You value being if someone out there like Brandon Kempter, he values being the best bodybuilder he can be, right? So for him, if he's going to go down that path of being so diligent with tracking and everything, I'm like, you're sticking to your values. Go for it.
That's what fulfills you. Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't the case. And I realized that all this like going all in on something and then it backfiring and then you're in a dark place and the next thing comes. Like this is what I did constantly throughout my teens and early 20s. And then kind of realizing that that's not the way to do it. And recently I've kind of feel like, I go to the gym 2-3 days a week for 30 to 45 minutes and I enjoy it. It makes me feel good. It's good for my health. Surfing isn't too much of my life either, where it's like, I've constantly got to be chasing waves and stuff. Like I'll have phases where I just go for like a lunchy for half an hour or 45 minutes.
A quick one.
Lunchy.
A quickie, just to get some.
Charlie would
in.
love a little lunchy.
I'd love a lunchy.
Yeah.
I'd love
it's
a
just
lunchy.
like, this is balance and this is middle road.
Yeah.
And middle road for most people equals like total health and happiness.
Yeah. I can definitely relate to this, like the all or nothing.
All or nothing.
But it's zapping fulfillment from other areas of your life. Yeah. Like that one piece there, like just sums up so many endeavors of mine in all sorts of areas of life where I just fucking.
I think I don't know, something that I'm coming to this realization now as an adult is just having fun, because we have that as a kid. You used to do all sorts of random activities. I know I did growing up, play basketball, go play cricket in the driveway, or take a bike for a ride, go skateboarding. Like we recently had the Itch Pig boys on the podcast. It was a while ago, but like I just went to the skate park again with one of the guys. He skates, and I was like, I used to skate as a kid. And I was going to go, and I felt really uncomfortable going because I'm this 110 kilo guy. It sucks now, but it was just fun to go. And like getting back into surfing too, because I was the same as you. We used to surf heaps when I was a kid, and kind of just stopped. And then last summer we started going again, and it's just, I don't need to be the best. I probably suck, but it's just having fun. It's going out and doing something that makes you feel some form of fulfillment. Like you don't, because I was definitely going down that route of like, 3 years ago, I wouldn't have gone surfing, probably because we're in lockdown. But before that, I wouldn't have gone surfing because it would have affected training on Tuesday when I had to squat. But I guess, like you said, the values just shift and change.
I think there's something in the fitness industry, I don't know if it's like unspoken, but around all or nothing, because I feel like it's just a common theme. Whereas I think in other endeavors, people are happy just to partake in those endeavors for the sake of it, for the enjoyment, not needing to be the best. But I think, I don't know what it is, but I feel like with the fitness industry, it's a very like, I'm in and that's it. And I've got to put everything towards this. And if I'm not, like, what's the point?
You know who's not all or nothing? The local footy clubs.
What's the thing? 100%. Not
played
at all.
local
Not at all.
footy.
Yeah.
They have the most fun.
They do, man. They used to. I couldn't fathom it, but they used to drink beers the night before the game. I'm like, how do you do it like that? But then they'll drink beers after. They might train only once through the week, but they're just having fun. They go and enjoy it. There's something to take from that laid back approach.
100%.
Could some of them take it a little bit more seriously when they do a hammy? Probably, but there is something to take from. It's a spectrum, and like I just think health and fitness is so far down that all or nothing, because I've been like that, where I would literally, when I first started tracking my macros, I worked with Joey Zingini, and he's had my protein set at 220, and I'm like, I only had 180 for the day. And I'd be like, what's going to happen? My body's going to
Shrivel up.
It's going to shrivel up and imply. And I look back now and go, how stupid was that?
Yeah, but you were new to it
You're
all.
learning and new, but I'm just like, the goal is now to educate people that is okay. Hey, you felt 30 grams short of your macros. It's not the end of the world. You're fine.
I think, and this is especially with nutrition, I think so much in the fitness industry trickles down from PTs being bodybuilders, and bodybuilding being by nature such an all or nothing, you have to be this lean on this date thing, that those beliefs of how you have to go about nutrition and training filter out to other people in the fitness industry who are just like, I just want to get in shape. And they think that this is the way they have to go about it, but they just don't. They just flat out don't have to have that same approach.
Yeah, you're 100% on the money. And the thing is, bodybuilding is such an extreme thing.
It's so extreme.
And when all of the coaches more or less are bodybuilders or have competed and whatnot, and all the influencers are bodybuilders who are always prepping or bulking, or they're never like just chilling. It's always
never just living life.
I'm fucking in a build phase, or I'm in a cutting phase. It's like, so this trickles down to clients, and the coaching approaches are coach centered. Oh, I track my macros when I'm going for fat loss. Therefore, all of my clients need to track their macros. Oh, what was that, Mary? You're a pastry chef with 3 kids who wants to lose, 5 kilos, and who just goes to the gym for enjoyment. Nah, I don't care. You need to track your macros.
Where's your chicken?
Just like,
where's your fucking chicken, mate?
Where's your chicken?
just the phrase cheat meal. If bodybuilding did exist, that would never exist. It only exists because your diet's so rigid. You get that 1 meal a week that you just do whatever the fuck you want.
all in his
And then
goals.
go back. It never would have happened. It never would have happened in any other time.
So
It's a good theory. I like that.
So let's continue your timeline then. So you've gone through this macro coach, Steve, or you were PTing, but you went through the heavy macro focus, and then started to realize that wasn't. You took a few leaps.
Yeah, I took a few leaps of faith and then realized that, I don't need to macro track things to be able to eat healthy, and the effort cost of tracking, like, I've got so much more time and mental energy now. This is great. And then I was even like, heck, I'm going to try fat loss without macro tracking. And then I kind of thought, okay, well, how can we actually create systems and tools in the toolkit to be able to, because we think about, what are we trying to achieve with tracking our macros in the context of fat loss? Energy deficit on average over time. Cool. How can we achieve, that's just one way we can do it. It's just the quantified way. But there are many different ways we can do it. We can utilize food selection. We can have a toolkit of meals and snacks that align with that goal. We can be conscious of food decision making when socializing. We can be, have some boundaries around fat intake to try and promote a low calorie per bite diet or calorie density side of things. We can focus on fiber. We can have daily habits that we focus on that
Increase energy output as well.
Yeah, increase energy output or encourage a more health-seeking diet, or one that's more filling, or whatever, it's just one little, you've got this massive toolkit, and everyone's just going straight to this one little thing because it's the easiest to coach and it's the easiest to slap a label on it and call it personalized. But it's not coaching. That's not personalized coaching.
And it's not personalized. That's the thing.
That is not personalized coaching. It's personalized macro targets. That's all it is.
Man, some former clients or who've come from other coaches, and they're like, oh yeah, I've been following this meal plan that my friend got from their bodybuilding coach, and it's like, 11 a.m. fucking kangaroo mints. I'm like, man, we're too stuck in our little bubble. We're like, oh yeah, things are moving forward, and you're like, man, there's still some fucked shit going on.
Things are definitely moving.
They are 100%. But this isn't.
There's still I know what you mean. There's still a lot of
shit going on. And even clients, and this is of no fault of their own, of course, but who think should I try cut carbs out after in the evening? And it's just all these things that you thought are 90s ideas, they still float around. There's still work to be done.
They definitely still float around.
Yeah.
You've inspired me. You've inspired me because my note tracking's been going great, but I'm getting a little bit fat. But right now I'm just going to focus. I've got my nationals in 7 weeks, but after that I want to do a little bit of a cut before December 3rd. Do a little bit of cut, so I'm not looking too fluffy on the beach. But I'm going to do it. No, I'm going to cut and not track.
Yeah, fuck it.
I'm gonna do it just as a personal, because I've never done a cut.
Personal goal.
I know I could do it. Easy. Chicken breast, Bud Light, everything. Chicken breast, Bud Light. For me, automating my food and just having my go-tos just makes it so much easier.
Yeah.
So breakfast, high protein Greek yogurt with some fruit, and then chicken breast and Spud Light. I love canned corn, broccoli,
can of beans,
broccoli. Load that shit up protein and plants.
Yeah.
Just makes it easy because I don't have to think.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so interesting because any tool in the toolkit, when taken too far, can be deleterious. So even the idea of like, these are my meals that I have, it's like, well, what happens if I'm socializing? What happens if I want to go out with my friends? And this made like the next stage, you know, if we even go further in the timeline, was me realizing that, you know, we want to be fluid in our approach. Like, we don't want to be married or reliant on any one system. You know, even though we're not tracking our macros to achieve weight loss because we're utilizing this eating routine and this focus on, you know, food volume and fiber,
You've still got constraints.
We've still got these rigidity. And look, the thing is, like, any goal requires, like, it's calorie restriction. It requires, it's such an interesting thing, because now I feel like the space is going so more towards, oh, you don't need to diet, like,
intuitive.
You know, health at every size and all this sort of stuff. And there are principles behind all of those concepts that are fantastic. And a lot of people don't actually understand some details around them, like, that will change your perspective on what they're actually trying to talk about. But anyway, when they're taken too far, it's like, oh, weight loss is bad. Weight loss is bad. What happens if we've got this person who's stage 3 obese and, you know, they need to lose weight, or otherwise they're going to drop dead in a couple of years? Like, so yeah, when you take any one thing too far, there's a potential for it to backfire. Yeah, that's my point.
Yeah.
I don't know where else was going.
I don't know. I was just saying chicken breast Bud Light, can of corn.
I think Charlie has the nutritional literacy to use that approach and it not
go out.
cause issues for him. But for some people, it's like, oh, if I have my fixed meals, what happens if I run out of that certain ingredient? What do I do then? Like, what do I do then? But you have the skills to navigate that. Whereas, unfortunately, some people don't. It's like, oh, my coach said I have this meal at 11 a.m. What do I do if I didn't go to the shops? What happens if
it's through years of tracking that I've learned what foods are typically lower in calories, highest, you know, keep me more satiated, things like cauliflower, pumpkin, all that stuff. So I know that I can chuck chicken breast because it's lean, pretty lean, high protein, and then load my plate up with corn, pumpkin, cauliflower, and eat a shitload of that. And it's going to be super low in calorie, but I'm going to feel full as nuts after. It's full as nuts. But I was going to ask, like, say you're going to go through this cutting phase, we're going to go untracked. Could you potentially throw in a tracked day there every so often just to get a ballpark figure of what you're roughly eating, just for like someone like myself as a coach, just to know?
Yeah. So what do you think?
I say, yeah, fuck yeah. It's a tool. It's a tool. Use the fucking tool.
Yeah. So it can bring XYZ benefits. Utilizing in this amount is not really going to bring any side effects. Yeah. So yeah, it's going to have benefits. So why would you not use it? If you wanted to use it, go for it.
There's a little sneak peek of some client-centered coaching right there. Yeah. What do you think?
I think we're relatively...
Throw it back on the client.
I'm going to say that us as coaches are definitely...
We are incredible. That is what we do, man.
I literally sit down, I have an end-of-block phone call with my client. I'm like, all right, what do you want to do? Yeah. That's the first thing I ask them. Are you happy with this? Do you like doing this? All the shit you're saying, I'm like, I'm doing this without even realizing. And that was being heavily influenced by... that Mike Teixeira, having Bryce Krawczyk from Calgary Barbells, that bottoms up approach. It's tailor the program to the athlete. So we're following the same principles with training as you are with nutrition. And that's why
this is bottoms up nutrition.
Bottoms up nutrition. And this is why I think we're like, everything you're saying, I'm like, I just fucking agree with. I agree with, because we've had the same approach.
We're nearing on an hour, but I do want to make sure we touch on one more thing, because you said it off air, but I would like to understand it more, which is related to just get the heart rate up a little bit. No, it's related to you going back to do a master's degree.
Oh yeah,
yeah. I would like to what's your master's in? So you did an undergrad of industrial design. Sorry. Yeah. Was there any other not further study, but structured study?
Yeah. So my pathway was real weird for, like, I guess a nutrition pro. So I did my undergrad in industrial design, but I did electives in strength and conditioning, which is super weird. And all the people at uni were like wigging out. I even had to drive to a different campus for like one subject. It was fucking weird. But anyway, so those subjects plus the fact that I had an undergrad got me some kind of like a bit of recognition.
CECs or whatever they're called.
Yeah, well, for later stuff. So I then did MNU and like PN and all these sort of things, but they're all hobby courses. They don't get you any kind of like accreditation, and unis don't care. So I did the SNA thing quite early days for SNA. And that got me into, because I had the postgrad diploma, because I had an undergrad, I was able to get in a postgrad diploma with the
through the course.
IOPN. Yeah. So it was like this pathway into this postgrad thing, even though I didn't have an undergrad in nutrition. It was super weird.
Loophole.
Yeah, and then because I had a postgraduate diploma, that's postgraduate level studies, plus because I also have an undergrad, I was able to get in a master's. So now I'm doing a master's.
Yep.
And I'm
Just skip
almost
the undergrad
finished.
nutrition, just went straight to the masters, essentially.
Pretty much, yeah.
Just bypass that sucker.
Love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're doing a Masters of Nutrition, just flat nutrition.
Masters of Sport and Exercise Nutrition.
Yep.
I'm doing it part-time, obviously, because I'm working full-time. It's taking 3 years. I'm almost done.
Nice.
And I'm about to start the final research project. And I'm hoping to be able to get that published. That'd be super cool.
What's that on?
I'm going to be looking at the prevalence of low energy availability in surfers or surfing athletes.
You're coming after Surfing Australia.
For the layman, what is energy availability?
Yeah, so layman's terms, basically, do the athletes eat enough food to maintain adequate or proper biological function, health recovery, and all that sort of jazz?
Yep. Can you talk about any of your findings currently, or you haven't started?
I haven't started
the actual
collecting data yet.
I want to ask one question before we wrap it up. The preface of the surf. So I'm assuming you're saying surfers have not enough. Their energy availability is going to be lower. What has made you think like that?
Yeah, so
You touched on it a little bit before with some of their ideas.
yeah, so there's not a lot of research in surfing for obvious reasons. Surfing is like a sport where they're like, oh, rather listen to like my jiu-jitsu coach or Joe Rogan or something, right? So there is some research in looking at the physiological demands of surfing, and it's consistently been shown, especially competitive surfing, it's surprisingly demanding in terms of energy expenditure, heart rate averages. It's,
absolutely.
It's similar in nature to soccer and AFL.
Really?
Wow.
So the research there has been research in soccer and AFL on energy availability, and the findings are alarming. It's like one study was, I think it was by McGee and colleagues 2020, was like 67% of this cohort of female soccer players are at risk of low energy availability.
Wow.
Okay, and there's also been some research in male cyclists. It's just all across the board in these sort of similar sports in terms of physiological demands, there's alarming findings. And there's also some real old school research in 10 professional female surfers that showed that their diets are shocking, and also highlighted that, you know, a lot of competitions are in like remote places where access to food and food hygiene and everything is really, you know, a problem. So based on all of this, my hypothesis is that surfers are going to be
It's going to be the same. Yeah.
You know, it's going to be at risk. It's a big thing and no one's even talking about it. So that's what I'm wanting to
look
discover.
into more. Yeah. Do you think this will be the end of your studies, or do you think you might go a little further again?
I've always said that I would love to do a PhD.
Yeah.
I've always said that to myself. But if that is ever going to happen, it's going to be after a nice
break.
Because like I want to focus on, you know, doing stuff like career shit, you know, business shit. I want to focus on being more of an adult, and doing kind of like
fuck that
sort of stuff. You
know, we want more play.
How old are you?
I'm 28.
Yeah. Similar to us, 29.
Yeah.
Oh, you're 30 now. You're old fuck.
Yeah, so you got this gym and everything. Like, what do I have? A fucking few surfboards in a van.
You got a van there now. You got a van, mate.
We didn't have a van.
Doesn't open. But
How's your health? I bet you it's cracker. Because his health is dog
We're
shit.
talking about total health or physical health?
all of it. Nah, I'm doing all right.
He's better now. He actually had a realization.
I just got back from a holiday.
He needs to be healthier.
Yeah, I saw that.
And I had an epiphany that I'm a slob. Like, I might not look like a slob, but I have a lot of slob mentality in my life.
Slob-like traits.
Yeah, slob-like traits. And I need to do some, I'm calling it, I'm tending to my own garden. I've got some physical and mental tending to do, some gardening to do in my own backyard before I start.
Bit of spring cleaning.
Yeah, a bit of spring cleaning. So my slob-like traits are getting challenged right now. So this has been a very timely
I'm going to ask one more question before we wrap up. So you said some of the alarming studies there with some of those athletes having low energy availability. Now, obviously, I don't know. I'm straight to my head. I'm like, the answer is eat more food to get more energy. Is it that simple? And also, why are these athletes so under eating? Where's that culture coming from? Why is that happening?
It's definitely not that simple.
Yeah.
So firstly, the whole energy availability thing has its own issues. Like, how do we measure it? And then the thresholds that are considered to be low energy availability, they're also, I'm not super confident in them, and some other people are even less confident in them. Like, we don't even have thresholds for males. Like, that 30 kilocalories per kilo of fat-free mass is for females. But anyway, that aside, why does this happen? So, extremely high energy demands, pressures, weight, and like body image pressures in certain sports, especially those that are like weight class sports or based on appearance, or when appearance is a valuable thing. Gymnastics come to mind. Even surfers, like this is purely speculative, but I feel like a lot of younger female surfers are under pressure to, especially those who are sponsored with brand deals and doing photo shoots and stuff, even though they're not a model, like they're modeling clothes, and this is how it works. It's like, you got to have this image of a surfer and everything. And
but their workload's way higher than a model's because they're fucking surfing all the time.
Yeah, that's the thing. And then they're training as well. And it's, it's just like, it's those things plus a combination of, it's actually really hard to eat that much calories like consistently. And this comes back to that right tool for the job thing. Like, you got 600-700 grams of carbs to eat in a day. All right, good luck trying to do that with plain sweet potato and oatmeal. You will shit yourself. Your guts will explode, and it's not going to be a good time. So this is when, let's bring in some Cocoa Pops. Yep, let's be putting the Biscoff on top of that bread. Yeah, let's get the Milo bars in. Come on, don't be shy. Like, that's what we're doing, Dextrose.
Yeah, fine.
Love the dextrose.
Yeah? How's your energy availability?
Mine's too good. Putting on fat. My girlfriend touched my stomach and goes, are you getting fat? And I was like, I know. Anyway. And then she actually said, she goes, she stopped and thought, and she goes, I'm just thinking about if you did that to me, I'd be so annoyed. But I was like, not phased at all. I was like, whatever. I'll do a cut and I'll drop it. I don't know where the fuck I was going.
I'll do a cut and I'll drop it.
Yeah. Crazy. Cut it without tracking though, Charles. Challenge yourself.
I will.
Stoic.
I will.
I think we'll wrap it up there. That was really fun. Thank you very much for jumping on. Is there anything that you would like to, where people plug or whatever at all? Obviously, we'll have all your links in the description, but anything specifically that you've got coming up or that you recommend is a good resource for people to jump in on if they're interested in learning more from you?
Yeah, so thank you so much for having me on the podcast. Really appreciate it. It's an honor.
No worries.
I'm really thrilled. It's
cool.
Awesome to come check out the gym. It's awesome gym for the folks listening. Very good gym.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So yeah, really appreciate it. It's been awesome. Great chat. So where can people find me? On Instagram at @MackenzieBaker_. Instagram. There's also, I've got a podcast. I haven't posted something on it for about 6 months.
Don't let that deter you though.
That's going to come back, and there's a lot of good episodes there. So definitely give that a whirl. In terms of resources, so I work with a company called Fortitude Nutrition Coaching. That's obviously on the socials as well. FNC. Highly recommend following that. And then the founder of FNC also has a separate business it's like nutrition coaching. It's not like business coaching or anything like that. It's more like, how can we be a client-centered coach?
Yep.
How can we, have a more fulfilling coaching experience?
So learning the skill of nutrition coaching.
Yeah. And there's like, if you follow that on social media, there's a lot of good resources there and sort of ideas that.
What's that called?
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't even say what that's called. Hero Nutrition Mentoring.
There we go.
Strongly recommend that. I would definitely not be where I am today as far as my toolkit, I guess, as a practitioner without Josh. So that's a good resource that I recommend.
Shouts out.
People follow. And that's probably
it.
Probably about it, eh?
Well, good luck with no luck needed by the sounds of it, but crush your talk tomorrow. Saturday. I keep thinking it's Friday. In a couple of days. And
Thursday.
Yeah, that's it. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks,
Ciao.
fellas.
Done. Cheers. That was good. Very good.
Awesome.
Enjoyed that.